I can take $1,000, buy a piece of junk land at a tax auction, fix the goofy little problems that are wrong with it, and turn it from junk into buildable, and then sell it as a buildable lot for $400,000. And I can do that over and over and over again. And that's what I do. And it varies in different sequences, but um, sometimes I buy a lot for $1,000 and only sell it for 10,000. But sometimes 50,000, sometimes 60,000. But every once in a while, I hit the home run and I sell them for 400,000. And I do like I've done over 100 properties, maybe 300 properties probably.
Wow. Do it
But
over and over again.
yeah, and the key to it is pretty simple. There's generally junk land is junk because you can't build on it. But I found there's like 7 tools you can use to change junk land into buildable land. And one is like variances. You get a variance to a variance from the building code. Or let's say you need a boundary line adjustment, there's title problems, or whatever the problem is on the property. If you can isolate that problem and then correct it, your value dramatically increases 100 times. I mean, like
Yeah.
literally 100 times. And I'll give you an example of that. As I bought a property a year ago in Issaquah, which is a really hot area. Bought a half-acre lot with water, sewer, power, road access, right across the street from Target, and I paid $1,000 for it. And then the reason I bought it for $1,000 is the guy who had owned it for like 20 years couldn't sell it to anybody because they had a title problem. He couldn't get clear title from the title insurance company. So he was going to let it go on the tax sale. So I called him before the tax sale and I said, "Hey, are you going to let it go on the tax sale?" And he says, "Yes, I'm going to let it go on the tax sale." And I go, "Well, I'll buy it from you, and don't let it go on the tax sale." And I said, "I'll give you $500 for it." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no. You think I'm crazy?" And I said, "Well, how much do you want for it?" And he goes, "I'll take $1,000 for it." And I went,
Yeah.
"Oh shit."
I need to pause and say, like, any piece of land, just given the path of development in this area, is worth significantly more than even $1,000. So you're thinking he's
I
like, hey, dude, don't lowball me. Come on, I know what I'm sitting on. But he's like, no, I didn't really want that much more.
I know, no, and it always shocks me, and I always come back, do that low ball thing, and they always come back with low counter offers. And
Yeah.
so he said, if you send me $1,000, I'll sign over the deed to you.
Wow.
And so him and his sister owned it, so I got his sister and him to sign it, and we did it. I just sent him the deed electronically, and then I Venmoed him the money, so he had the money immediately, and then he just sent it back to me, and uh, and I had a deal. So then I took this gorgeous piece of land. It's right now it's zoned for 1 unit. In that area, 1 unit of land is worth $500,000. One housing unit.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, and so I went to my attorney and I said I need to do a quiet title and clear this title. And and I looked into what the problems were in the title, and I found some supporting data to give to the attorney to make the quiet title action go smoother. And it took him 4.5 months. And at the end of 4.5 months, he gave me clear title, and I got a title report that says I'm the sole owner of the property and nobody else can challenge it. And now, today, that $1,000 property is worth 500,000 right now. And
Yeah. So you have $1,000 into it plus some legal fees.
yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, I had. It cost me 15,000 for clearing the title. So for $16,000, I'm gonna make 500,000.
Right. Wow.
Okay, okay. So that sounds pretty good, right? That'll get people on their toes, right? But that's not enough. Okay, so I also this lot is subdividable, so I'm applying for a short subdivision. I'm gonna split the lot in two, and two
Okay.
lots in that area are worth $1 million. So in 4 months from now, when the short subdivision is over in Issaquah, I'll have two separate lots, and I'll have $1 million worth of land for my probably cost another 10,000 for about $25,000 total investment.
Wow.
I'll have $1 million property.
All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack here, from the title clearing process to, how do you even, know that this was coming up for a tax sale in the first place? But maybe we start with that, the the confidence early on. Take me back to like 40 years ago, Wayne, to say like, what, even if it has a junk title, or I can figure this out, and for $1,000, I'm willing to roll the dice. It's like, whereas I don't know, like, what, I mean, I guess it's relatively low risk. You got the purchase price and the legal fees. But it's like, if the owner couldn't figure this out, with theoretically he had the same $1 million to gain from doing it, like, why would he sell it so cheap? And then for you to have the confidence to say, well, shoot, I can clean this up. I can figure out like the legal red tape that needs to happen.
I teach people to buy from don't wanters. Okay, don't wanters. Okay, people who don't wanters are people who like own this property. They were the kids that inherited from their dad. Their dad was a real estate guy like me. He could figure stuff out, but the kids, they don't know how to do it,
Yeah.
and they don't care to learn how to do it. It's just something they got, this extra stuff. It's like, and they're called don't wanters. They don't want the property,
It's
and
hard
they
to
they
imagine
don't care
anybody
to.
not wanting an extra $1 million, though.
But see, they don't know it's worth $1 million because any barrier to them is a final barrier. They don't see beyond the barrier. They just see, somebody, like they're very short-sighted, and they don't.
Okay.
But the main thing is they don't have the desire to look beyond the barrier. They don't want it. People just don't want it. They don't want to mess with it anymore. It's sort of like there's a divorce, and the wife gets the husband's property, and she hates the husband. She just doesn't want the property. She just wants to get rid of it.
Okay.
She doesn't care if she can make more money off. She wants to dump it. Like the famous story of the girl, the wife got the guy's Corvette and sold it for $50. Just because
Just out of spite.
yeah, just
Okay.
they just want to get rid of it and whatever. But I run into this a lot, and people are very short-sighted about their properties, and these tricks that I have, they're not upfront. You call the city and you say, "Hey, uh, how do I make this lot buildable?" 9 times out of 10, they'll say, "No way, you can't build on it ever,"
Yeah.
because the clerk guys at the low levels, they don't even know and they don't care. They don't even care about looking up the rules.
Right.
They're
They're
just
they're authorized to
they're
say no, but it's
yeah,
all of a sudden they're sticking their neck out to say yes. It's like, well, wait, whoa, 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 what did you just approve?
yeah, right. So generally, yeah, and these guys they tried to give it to the city of Issaquah, and the city wouldn't take it because the title was screwed up.
Oh,
They were
jeez.
going to give it to them as for free, for zero, for nothing. And the city said, no, we don't want it because even the city in its short-sightedness didn't know that it was a buildable lot that they could do something with or whatever.
So
It's a
what's this
half acre.
process like to clear that title and say, tell me what that means,
Um,
and your process
well,
for.
okay, this is what you do is you call a title company and you ask for a title report, and they send you a title report, and it shows you all the problems on the property, and they're all kind of unique. So each report is different. But on this one, what it was is in the chain of title. That means from everybody who deeded the property to everybody who owned it at each during all the years,
Yeah.
there was a gap. There was a gap. And about 50 years ago, um, these guys, Pickering brothers, deeded it to this guy, and and that deed, although it was a real deed and it really happened, never got recorded in the title company's records. Who knows why? But it never got there. But he took possession of the property, thinking he owned it, he paid for it, and then he deeded it to these other guys, the other guy, and then he died and it went to his kids. So the title company says, well, since there's a gap, we can't give you title to it because I bought it from the kids. And
Okay.
they say, well, the kids don't have title to it. So what I did is I found out who this guy was that they gave the missing link deed. He was still alive, which is rare because it was like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And I called him. He says, yeah. He says, yeah, I bought the property, and it's a real deal. and I recorded it, but there's no record, I guess. And he wrote me a little statement saying, "I'm the guy. I got it. I bought it. Recorded it." And then we gave that to the judge when we went to court. We said, "Well, here's a statement from the guy who actually bought it." And
Wow.
then
Okay.
I asked the court, my attorney asked the court to give us clear title against everybody. So when you clear title, you clear against the whole universe. So it's not just him, but anybody who has a claim to it. It's a beautiful thing because it gets rid of any title issue. And then
Interesting. And so, what
and
would have
then
happened had that guy been dead? You weren't able to track him down. What would have happened then?
Oh, well, there's still ways, that's the front door. Then the side door is his heirs. Okay, if he dies, legally, his ownership right goes to his heirs, and they don't even know they own it. So I'd call them up, the kids, and I'd tell them the story, and I'd say, "Give me a quitclaim deed. I'll send you a couple $100 for your time and trouble." And they give me a quitclaim deed, and then I use that, and I give that to my attorney, and then we go to court.
Do you ever have the kids come back and say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Wait a minute! Do you gonna give us a couple $100 for this $500,000 parcel here?"
No, because they're inherit people who inherit stuff are don't wanters.
Yeah.
They don't even know they inherited it. In fact, this thing
Well, in this
they don't
case,
even
sure.
know this is it's like an illusion. They go, "Well, oh, really? You mean my Uncle Joe? He gave me this property and I never even knew I owned it?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he died, he got the ownership." And they go, "Well, you know, I've never had them say, give me a big chunk of money. I've
Yeah.
always had good luck with that."
How funny. I mean, this is 10 minutes from our house. Like, we drive past this all the time, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a prime, kind of up on a little hill. Like, nothing, not a ton built around it, but it is right across the street from Target, this huge shopping. How did you come into the intel that it was gonna be going up at the tax sale?
Okay. Every year, the county, King County, where I'm at,
Yeah.
uh, posts a list of all the properties that are going to be foreclosed on. And what I do is, before the tax sale, I call the owners to see if they're going to let it go in the tax sale. Because if they are, then I offer to buy it from them. And these are target properties that I really like. It's not all the properties, just the ones that really look good to me.
Okay,
And
so
this one
in
was a real
advance, so in
fluke.
advance of the like the foreclosure auction or the tax sale, the county is publishing this list. Hey, here's everybody who is delinquent, or here's what's coming up on our docket, and so that gives you a chance to go track down the existing owners and try and make an offer in advance of that, so you don't get into a bidding war with other investors, other buyers.
Correct. Yeah, once you go into the auction, then prices go up.
Yeah,
Get all the people, crazy people bid at the auction. And, it's online, so you can bid if you live in New York, and
yeah,
yeah.
interesting. And so this is all public record type of stuff. Is it similar in other areas of the country?
Most areas of the country have tax sales. Some they have different law systems, like in Philadelphia and stuff. It's a whole different animal, but majority of the country has tax sales, and some areas have tax title sale, which is a whole different animal. But I don't deal with those. Yeah,
I remember going to some seminar and it was, tax lien investing where, you buy
yeah,
the
tax lien investing. Yeah,
buy the lien on the property and every now and again you end up getting the deed because you're one of the first lien holders. Like, oh gosh,
yeah,
it's the whole thing.
and yeah, and that's it. You can make money at that. You might make maybe two or three times your money. But in my game, you can make 100 times your money. You know,
Yeah.
and and the best bet is, let's say you pick 10 properties, okay, and you're successful in maybe one or two, and eight of them nothing happens. You just can't make it happen. But on the two that are successful, you make so much money that you pay for all the ones you bought, and you have enough money to buy brand new ones.
Got it. Is that a typical success rate? Like, not everything is going to be a 100x home run, but you cast a wide enough net, you place enough bets that enough of them work out to erase all the losses and then still make a profitable living.
Yeah, it's like the 10 to 1 rule. Basically, if you do 10 deals, you'll make a killing on one.
Okay.
And you might make some money on two or three, and then you'll make no money on the rest. And
Okay.
you might even lose on one of them.
Okay. Helpful to know, right? Buy right, minimize your risk, all that stuff, but aim for the ones that have a big upside potential. So starting at this, county level pre-tax sale, if there is such a list that's available, and trying to contact those owners in advance. And the ones that say, yes, I'm going to let it go to the auction, will say, well, let me make a deal with you in advance of that. Or what would it take to part with it before that?
Yeah, that's like, yeah, I say, yeah, what would it take? And invariably, like 9 out of 10 guys I contact, if they're going to let it go on the sale, they'll take pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, just pennies. I got one good example. I bought a beautiful ski chalet in Stevens Pass. It's gorgeous. It's right on top of a hill, and it's newer, and it's all perfect. It's all in perfect shape. And I called the guy, and he said, "Yeah, we used to use it a lot and everything." And he says, "But I'm just getting too old, and I don't go there anymore." And I said, "Well, will you take $1,000 for it? It's worth $180,000."
Sure.
Right now, as is. And this is, and he goes, no, no. I said, I'll take 8,000 for it. And I said, no, no. I said, I'll give you two. And so we settled at two. He says, all right,
Okay.
I'll take two. So I bought this $180,000 ski chalet for $2,000.
Is it just that they owe back taxes and they don't want to deal with
Yeah,
it?
and there actually, yeah, and the side on this was he owed, I think it was $6,000 in back taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 6,000. So I actually paid him $8,000 for the chalet.
Okay. Clear the back taxes and take
And
ownership of the
yeah, because you
property.
have to clear the back taxes. Yeah.
Why not just sell the place for 180,000? Like it's just
Yeah, I know. Well, see, he's a don't wanter. See, like you're talking about, you are a rational person and not a don't wanter. I'm a rational person, not a don't wanter. But there are people out there who are not rational and they're in the don't wanter category. And when they don't want it, they don't want, that means they don't care to do anything on it.
yeah.
They don't even want to call a listing agent and say, hey, see what you can get for it. I mean, they don't want to lift one finger on it
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. And
Fascinating.
it's a beautiful thing because without those people, I would be out of business. That's the meat of my business is all those don't wanters out there who just don't care about their properties.
All right. Another site that I found, so starting at the county level, actually, King County pointed me to a site called bid4assets.com,
Yeah,
bid the number
right.
4 assets.com, which appears to be kind of a nationwide type of database.
Yes, Bid for Assets. King County used Bid for Assets to sell at auction their properties once a year, and they don't use them anymore. But
Oh, okay.
it's a really good site because it shows you can go on the site and see which properties are in the auction, and it has a diagram of the property. It also has a title report, which is very critical, and it also tells the stats on the property, if it's wet or whatever. And
Oh, okay.
it's a really good site. The one that King County is using now is called Real Auction, Real Auction, and that's where it is going to be this year.
Okay.
Same thing. They have the title reports and they have it's a nice informational site. Tells you what the minimum bid is, which includes all the penalties and stuff for the back taxes. And typically, the cheapest thing you can buy is around $1,500 to $2,000 for a lot. I did buy a lot for $667 last year. I bought one property for $600.
It seems to be like it's almost like a Warren Buffett type of situation where it's like I don't need to be making deals every week. I just got to wait for the right one to come along, and that you know that could be my year. That could be my 2 years worth of income here.
Well, what I do is this has been like my hobby because I love it so much. And once a year the tax sale comes up. So once a year I'll buy 10 properties or approximately that.
Okay.
And then I spend the rest of the year working on those
Yeah, trying
properties
to fix them
and
up and okay. Yeah, deal with
doing
the
whatever they need and
okay.
all the work and typically by the end of that year I've sold one or two cheaply, and the ones that I get a lot of money for, I have to wait maybe 2 or 3 years to actually get the big money, you know.
Okay.
And
And you may want to, right? You'll got to hold on to it 12 months at least for long term capital gains or something, maybe.
yeah, right, right, yeah,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
did you have a background in like how do you get into this? Like this is just such a random random side business.
Yeah, I think I'm the only guy that really does this stuff here in King County the way I do it. Um, uh, how I got into it is really a good story. Like 40 years ago or 45 years, like maybe 50 years ago now, I went to I didn't know how to make money, but I thought, what the hell? I'll go to an auction. So I looked in the paper and it said, auction, Dead People's Effects by King County Police or King County Morgue. King County Morgue. So I went to this auction and you buy all the jewelry and stuff they cut off the bodies when
Oh
they're
my God.
in the
Okay, that's
morgue.
morbid. Okay, jeez.
Yeah, I know. And eyeglasses and false teeth and rings and earrings and
Oh my
it's just
gosh.
all this. And this other guy was competing against me in the auction, and he stopped me in the middle of the auction. He says, "Hey Wayne, why we were the only two main bidders?" He says, "Why don't you and I agree to partner up and we'll just buy everything and then we'll split it up after the auction and we'll just do one minimum bid, And
Oh,
that's what we
okay.
did. So we got a minimum bid and we bought everything. And so we went to Denny's and we put everything on the table in the big pile of air, all this stuff. And we said, okay, one for you, one for me, one for you. And the most valuable thing were watches. They had some really nice watches. And so he'd get a watch and I'd get a watch. And but the bottom line on this guy owned 1,000 pieces of junk property that he'd been buying at the tax sales for like 10 years.
Okay.
And and I had been working in real estate at that time, and I knew how hard it was to fix properties when they have problems. And I know there's no way to manage 1,000 properties and get
Yeah.
them saleable. So I said to him, I said, I tell you what, I know how to fix problems in real estate. If you give me half of the profit on every property I fix and sell, we can be partners. He says, I'll do it. So
Okay.
at that point, I became a half owner on 1,000 properties. And that's where I really honed my skills on fixing stuff up. So
Got
I
it.
had 1,000 chances to learn how to get in the back door to fix properties. And since then, I've learned that basically there's about 8 major tricks, and they're all solid, really good tricks that you can do to fix junk property and make it saleable.
Yeah, you're getting in a
And
lot of reps. You're doing it almost on a performance basis. Like, hey, if it doesn't sell, if it doesn't make a profit for you, you don't owe me anything, kind of a thing.
yeah, right. And this guy, yeah, Bill Looney, he was the third largest parcel landowner in Washington, below the state of Washington and the federal government.
Wow.
He had more parcels of land than anybody else, in the whole,
But they weren't buildable. They needed a little TLC.
yeah, and yeah, most of them were not buildable. I mean, basically not buildable. He had some that were prime pieces, but the prime pieces I didn't help him with because he could sell
Right.
himself.
Okay.
So I just got the junk ones.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
let's talk
that's how
through
I
some of
started.
these some of these tools in your toolbox and maybe even sorting that list of 1,000 like well that's pretty daunting. Which ones am I going to tackle first? Is it these title issues like the Issaquah property? Is it sewer or septic? Is it trying to get a variance? Some like where do you even begin? Or do you have a game plan before going in and saying, well, okay, I think this
Yeah,
is
right.
what
I'll tell you
I
how I do it is I get the list from King County and I print it out and I put it down in front of me and then I the first thing I do is I look for all the cheapest it has the values, okay? And I look for all the ones that have the least amount of money that's owed on back taxes. So I work from the bottom up. I don't go at the ones that have the highest value. And then I'll look at each one and let's see the first thing I do I look at it and I see where is the owner, is he a local owner or is he live in Iowa, and my list has where they're located, and if they're out
okay.
of state I know that they're probably a don't wanter because
Is this is this
somebody
is
lives in
this
Iowa and they
Is this like free public records? Just go find on the county website.
Yeah, right. It's all available. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the next thing I do is I'll look at a picture of the land. I'll go to IMAP in King County, which is their site for examining properties, and it shows the property lines. And I'll see what the lot looks like. And the lot, when I look at the lot, I have these 7 or 8 tools, and I say which of these 7, 8 tools applies to this lot.
Okay.
And I do a quick scan, and one, well, I look at this one, maybe it needs a boundary line adjustment, or maybe this one needs a variance, or whatever. And I can tell visually for most what it needs. And then there's some other things you want to check on, which is, does it have sewer? That's a big one. If it doesn't have sewer and it's a small lot, then you have a problem because you usually need a big lot to put a septic system in.
Yeah, for
But
your
I have a trick where
what's it called? Like your drain field. Okay.
a drain field septic system, yeah. And I know how to take a little lot and make it perk and put a drain field on it, even though it's too small for the normal approval. So most people don't know how to do that, but I can do that.
The and then it'll like have a checkbox. So like, is there sewer or sewer plumbed?
Yeah,
Like that's just a
right.
public
Yeah, on the
public
if you go
information.
to IMAP in King County here, you can actually see all the particulars on the property. You have a picture of it, and then you can also push a button and it says everything about it. It's got water, sewer, power, access. If it's got steepness or wetness or whatever, it says all that stuff.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And so you're sorting by least amount of back taxes owed. Any other filters that you try
Yeah.
and apply? Because I imagine some of them are going to be
Yeah.
pretty. Some of them are not going to be in the $1,000 range. Some of them are going to be like, well, it's a $500,000 parcel because it's in the center of Bellevue or like right in
Yeah, I
Seattle or
know.
something.
And believe it or not, I buy a lot of parcels that are in really high rent areas like the center of Bellevue. I've
Yeah,
got 2 parcels in downtown Bellevue. I think I paid $2,000 for one, and I paid maybe $1,000 for the other one. And and we're working with the city now. If we can get those approved, those 2 lots are worth $2 million.
right.
They're worth $1 million apiece, and they're just little teeny scraps of land. They're very small, but they're buildable. Well, they weren't buildable when I bought them, but they're going to be buildable when I'm done with them.
What'd you do to have to make them buildable?
Well, this one right off Bellevue Way, it doesn't have an access. It was landlocked,
Oh,
so
okay,
it's a it's only 20 feet wide by 300 feet long, so it's really long and skinny. And there's a driveway that connects it, goes right past the front of it and connects it goes to some guy's house a few hundred yards beyond. So it's
okay,
right on a driveway, but you can't legally use that driveway because you don't have the legal right to it. So what I did is I went to the guy next door who owned the driveway and I said, "Hey, if you'll give me an easement, I'll give you $10,000." And he says, "I'll tell you what, if I give you the easement, I want you to give me what that your lot's going to be worth, and market value of your lot." And at that time, I told him the lot was worth 500,000 with an easement. He says, "If you'll give me $400,000, I'll give you an easement. And then you make 100 and I make 400.
uh huh.
So
It's
that
like
didn't work.
I can see where he's coming from. Like it's still a win, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a win, but
So
anyway,
easement would just
so I
be
said
like,
no.
give me like make it a part of the public record that this the owner of this lot could use your driveway basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. Well, I mean, it's like falling off a rock for him to give me an easement because it doesn't interfere with him at all. There's
Yeah.
no, all he does is let me drive my car, 50 feet and turn left.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
The driveway is 200 feet long. Yeah.
Okay, but he wasn't
Anyways,
born yesterday. He wants a piece of the upside. Sure.
yeah. So then I went to Plan B, which is you can actually sue for access if you have landlocked property. And I brought a lawsuit against him to sue for access on his driveway. And it's a long story, but basically I won the lawsuit. Not only did I win the lawsuit, I got the easement for free, and he has to pay me $10,000 in attorney's fees
Oh,
because he
geez.
fought me so hard on it. So he has to pay me 10,000 and give me the easement for free, and now my lot's worth $1 million.
Now, why is that? Why would the city force him to let you use his private road?
Because the law allows that. It's called an easement of necessity. And if the only way you can develop your property is through this guy's, the law supports uh, taking fallow land and making it viable. That's federal. It's called common law. Federal common law says they want to enhance use of land. And if your land's landlocked, they wrote laws to allow you to sue to get access to your lot if your neighbor's a real jerk and won't give you a road, you know. So,
You're like, hey, you should have
um,
just taken the 10 grand, buddy. Huh.
yeah. So that
Okay.
one, that was that one. And the other one, we have an issue with the lot is 2,800 square feet. It's a little triangle, but and the building code says if the lot's 3,000 square feet or less, you can't build on it. So we're arm wrestling with the city to see if we can get them to roll over. It's only like a 120-foot difference between what the law is or the regulation is and our lot. And so
Okay.
we're uh, we're seeing if we can convince them to give us the approval for that right now. And what we did is we found a bunch of case law. We studied all the case law in Washington that supports that type of request. And we sent them all these lawsuits that where people sued the cities because they wouldn't give them the buildable right of their property because it was short by a few hundred feet. And
Okay.
so what that means if the city refuses to give us this right, we can sue the city and force them to give us the right to build on the lot, even though their code says you can't.
Okay. So you're making your case. Like, look, there's some precedents for this. On top of that, there's a housing shortage. Like, we're trying to turn this otherwise unoccupied, useless thing into something that could actually help people. And we just need you to sign on the dotted line.
That's exactly right. And yeah, it's all for a good cause. I make money, it creates a new building site, the city gets more revenues. Also, the cities are real, they're they force you to pay for all their roads and sidewalks and sewers. They don't pay for it. You pay for it. I pay for it. When I build a property out, no matter what city it is, they make you pay for everything. So they don't pay any. You don't pay for the road. You don't pay for the side. I pay for the sidewalks. The city doesn't pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot in Renton. The lot's only worth $100,000. I just got a building permit on it. The city wants me to pay $150,000 worth of sidewalk and road improvements on
Oh
top
gosh.
of everything I paid for that lot. On top of it, you know. Yeah.
So what do you do in
Anyways,
that? What do you do in that case?
uh, hunt.
Just let it go to the tax auction, or you say like now you
No,
gotta
no.
put.
Actually, what I'm doing in this case is, and I've only got 1/10 of the block. I would be the only guy putting a sidewalk and improving the road on the entire block. It's 1,000 feet long, and I've got 100 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go to the mayor's office and ask them if they'll support them, let's see, overriding their requirement for the sidewalk because it just doesn't make sense.
This
So
yeah.
that's
So this
that's
is
my
something
approach
else
there.
to be aware of.
Yeah.
Just like these taxes and permitting fees, and we were looking when we were looking to move back up here, we found this vacant property. We're like, well, if we can't if you can't find a house, like maybe we just build your own house. Like, well, what's that realistically look like? And some of those permits and fees, there was like there was like $28,000 for like traffic impact study or something. It was like
Yeah, right.
two two cars. That's the traffic impact. Like I'll give you the answer. You don't need to spend twenty eight
Yeah,
thousand dollars
right,
on this. It was out
right.
of control.
Yeah. Yeah, so cities make a lot of money off what I do. And so they actually do want you to build on the stuff because the more they give you more permits, the more money they make. So
Right.
they're really on your side, even though they give you a lot of they give you a hard time, but they're on your side.
What's your best practices for finding the bureaucracy decision makers who can actually give you that stamp of approval? Because it seems intimidating as a total outsider, total newbie to roll up to City
Right.
Hall or even like try and find the right department and get transferred around a bunch of places. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, it seems. I mean, that's obviously where the value add is here, and where the money's made.
Yeah, it's cities can be your friend or your enemy, and depending on your attitude. Really, it's up to you. And if you look at them as a friend, which I do most of the time, um, uh, I go in there and I ask people to help me, and I say, hey, I got this unbuildable piece of property. Is there any way I can build on this? And if they say no, then I say, well, if they're lower level people, I say, why don't you talk to your boss and maybe he's got an idea. Maybe he can find a way. And then I go and talk to the boss, and then I ask him the same question. And then if he can't find a way, I say, can I talk to your boss? And I work my up to the top guy is the planning director. And typically those guys have all the really smarts. They're really together, the planning directors, and they know all the tricks. And
Okay.
then they'll come up with stuff you never even heard of. And that's where I learned a lot of my tricks is from these guys. I said, I got this lot. Everybody says I can't build on it. How could I do it? And then they show you, well, if you do this and you do that, well, you can build on it.
Okay, you're working your way up the chain of command. You don't want to take no for an answer. There's got to be something creative we can come up with here.
Right. And my philosophy is if they're saying no to you, they're lying to you. And if they say yes, they're telling you the truth.
Right. It's just a matter of finding what's it going to take here.
Yeah.
Do you typically, once you have that stamp of approval for building, like that's the primary value add, how often are you proceeding with that building yourself, or saying like, I don't want to deal with contractors and construction and doing all this stuff. Like I'd rather just make my quick paperwork flip here and be done with it.
Right. Right. Um, Most times I'll either get it ready for a building permit or get the building permit and then sell it. And occasionally I'll build it out. And I've only built out maybe two or three houses. And
Okay. Okay.
it's quite difficult and it's lengthy and it's time consuming and you get more money, but it's a lot, to me it's not really worth it.
Yeah.
I'd rather, you know, just roll the property as soon as I get a permit or get the property where the city says they will give you a permit. I'll sell it then too. If they'll just say, okay, we'll give you a permit, even though you haven't applied for it, at that point I'll sell the lot. And let's say it's worth 500,000 with the permit, and I'll sell it for 400,000 at a discount if you buy it right now, you know, because it's without the permit.
Got it. And it's still a big gain for you. Everybody's happy. Everybody wins.
Yeah, right, right.
Is that process just a typical MLS listing? Is that a special land brokerage? Like, how do you do the listing
Oh,
side of it?
yeah. No, I have an expert broker that I use over and over again because he's very talented. And you have to shop around to find somebody who really knows raw land.
Yeah.
And because you're selling junk land that is, to the first look, people can go, that looks like junk. And you have to have somebody who can say, well, no, it's not junk. You can actually put a, 10-story building on it, and and so you have to, it takes a special salesman to sell that. Where the average salesman, they don't, they're house salesmen and they don't know anything about land.
Tell me about something that, despite your best efforts, it just would not polish into gold. It was an expensive,
Oh yeah, right. No,
multi-month,
yeah,
multi-year.
I've lost some deals. I had one on Mercer Island. Uh, I bought the long skinny lot with a view of the lake,
Okay.
and it was, it'd be worth a lot if I could build on it. And then it just needed a variance, and then I applied
For
for a
like setbacks
variance.
from the property line or something.
Yeah, I needed some setback because it was narrow. It was
Okay.
narrow. It was long enough. It was like 150 feet long, but it was only like 40 feet wide. And with the setbacks, it really crunched the house down.
Yeah.
So I asked for 5 foot setbacks instead of whatever they were, and had a beautiful house designed on it. It would be great. And then the neighbors there got up in arms against me, and and pressured the city to deny my variance. Okay. And so at that point I lost. And then I thought, well, okay, I'm going to do it again. So so I applied for a variance again, and I went out again, hoping to change things a little bit to make it work. And I lost the second time too. And and in the end, what happened is the the owner who lived next door talked to his title company, and they found that they had deeded him my property by mistake 20 years earlier, and they
Okay.
screwed up. So they had to give him money for my property. And instead of doing that, they brought a lawsuit against me for partition, which is called a partition sale, or it was adverse possession and partition. And by doing that, they forced the sale of the property, and then I ended up with I ended up with $85,000. I paid
Yeah.
$1,000 for the property, but in fees over the 2 years, I probably spent $150,000. You
Got
know,
it.
so I probably lost $75,000 on a deal, but that was a failure. You know,
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
it
appreciate
didn't
you
work.
you sharing not just the upside, but hey, there's some things that could go wrong with these legal procedures and neighbor disputes and battles with the city and everything else.
Yeah, and it's a 10 to 1 thing. You like that's why I buy 10 lots, and I'll go at 10 of them, and one or two will be home run, absolute home runs. I'll
Yeah,
make 100 times my money, or like in the one at Iscon, I'm making like 500 times my money.
yeah,
I mean, like it's crazy.
that's
But
crazy.
but on others, maybe I make double, or and some I may maybe lose money on. I might lose money on two or three of them. But my investment is so low on the ones I lose. What do I lose? $2,000.
Right, as long as you've minimized your downside. Like where it sounds like where the major costs come in is in legal fees, attorney fees,
Yeah, right,
studies and
right.
surveys and everything else.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah, you
Wayne,
generally need a survey a lot of times on property, and that's 2 to 3 to 4 to 5,000. So
mhm.
you have to think about that. A lot of times you need a survey.
Well, Wayne, this is a fascinating business. I love that you have been at it diligently for years and years and years. I, I don't mean any offense by this, but you're not a young guy. Where do you want to take this thing? Like, what's next for you?
Oh, well, this is the deal. See, I just turned 81 this year, and I'm starting to lose my brain because when you get old, things start falling off you, and your brain gets weird. And I want to give all this knowledge to young people or whoever, and let them learn how to become financially independent and just become wealthy on their own, and not have to suffer like, when I was young, I could never pay all my bills. And every month the bills came and I never enough money to pay my bills. And this way, like if I started this when I was really young, that would have changed everything.
Yeah.
So I just want to share my knowledge with people. That's my goal, and give them everything I've learned before I can't think anymore. Yeah,
Well,
and so
appreciate you
that's why I
doing
did the
that.
program, and I wrote a book, and trying to get all that knowledge out of my head into some sort of form that people can utilize.
That's right. Wayne sent me his book, Junk Land into Gold. You can check it out. It was a lot of fun reading through. Maybe more fun because it was all like local stories. It was like, oh, I know where that is. So that's really cool. Are you still doing the annual auction? Like I'm gonna do this as long as
Oh
I
yeah, no,
can because it's
it's
fun.
my hobby. It's my hobby.
Yeah,
I do it because I love it. It's fun. It's not really to make money. It's just to have a good time. Other people like to play games, online and stuff. I go to the auction once a year. It's my vacation.
yeah. You think about people who are into like fixing junk cars. I've always got a project car going in the garage, or
Yeah, right,
I'm doing the
right.
furniture flipping thing and sanding and painting. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of similar. It's just doing it with junk land instead. Like, I don't know. Super interesting. But junklandintogold.com. You can find Wayne over there. I'll link up the book as well. Let's wrap this thing up with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation. Does not have to be land investing related, just whatever entrepreneurial wisdom that you'd like to impart.
most important thing you need to do is to mistake your way to success. And what that means is you have to keep trying to succeed, failing at what you do, and keep and not letting it damage your ego at all. So I call it mistake your way to success. And what that means is you you're going to make in this business, my business, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And each time you make a mistake, you have to learn to laugh at yourself, realize that you're taking one more step closer to winning. And if you don't make a lot of mistakes, you're not going to win because it's just how it is. Most people, they make a mistake and their ego forces them to give up. And if you never give up and you just keep going and you laugh at it, say, well, I'm mistaking my way to success, then you'll win. You always win. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard it phrased that way. There's always like, oh, every no gets me closer to a yes, but I never heard it phrased. Make mistake your way to success. It's so true in so many fields. Like we took the kids out to the driving range, golf driving range this weekend, and
Uh,
those first few, it's like, the wrists are going every which way, and you're like, whoa, 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 why are you
mhm.
moving your feet so much? But then,
Yeah.
by the end of the second bucket, it's like, hey, you're actually making contact now. It's like you had to kind of do it
Yeah.
the wrong way first, mistake your way to success. So I like that one. Wayne, thanks so much for joining me. A couple of takeaways before we wrap up is really, you got to be a problem solver. Like these cities, have an incentive to let you build on these lands, but you gotta show them the way. You gotta, really work and massage the deals and make it a win for everybody. You got to be willing to solve some problems, and you got to be willing to do the work that the don't wanters don't want to do. And so that's probably the big thing
Yeah.
here. And then it's buying right. It's keeping your risks low because not everything is going to be a home run. So you can't get overexposed, overpay for the property where you may not. You might have a game plan in mind, but you don't know the outcome, right? And so you got to keep that downside risk low. And I guess worst case, you just resell it to the next person like Wayne who wants to come around and to see, well, maybe if you couldn't fix it, maybe I could fix it. But if you've minimized your upfront costs, I think that's a good way to go. Now, if you are new to the Side Hustle Show, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And even if you're not so new, I want to invite you to grab your personalized Side Hustle Show playlist. These are a handful of handpicked episodes specifically for you. Well, how do we do it? Well, you go to hustle.show, you answer a few short multiple choice questions about your side hustle interests, your goals, and it'll spit back out that custom curated recommended playlist based on where you're at and where you want to go. That's hustle.show. Give it a try today. Plug those episodes into your earbuds next. Big thanks to Wayne for sharing his insight. Big thanks to our sponsors for helping make this content free for everyone. You can hit up sidehustlenation.com/deals for all the latest offers from our sponsors in one place. Thank you for supporting the advertisers that support the show. It really does make a difference. That is it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, let's go out there and make something happen. And I'll catch you in the next edition of The Side Hustle Show. Hustle on.